Welcome everybody. Is this working or what? Geezy Truth News. Welcome everybody. And thank you very much for tuning in to Geezy Truth News. It is October 9th, 2019. Ladies and gentlemen, we got a lot to talk about. We got an important show today. And it's getting serious. So, I mean, I don't know what to tell you. It's becoming whatever you want to call it. But we're going to have an important VIP, as always. Talking, getting through the news, getting through the stuff. So, T-5. I'm not sure if it's been a while. So, we got Tom and Jerry twiddling on the dials here. So, we're going to timestamp everything later. But let me make sure this is all Gucci. Yeah, I mean the Epstein stuff, lots of new stuff. I mean it's I don't know what to tell you. The Epstein thing, the impeachment thing with Donny Boy, the Ukrainian thing. You know, I mean the market is getting ridiculous. Everything's getting ridiculous. So let's see. What do we got going on over here? And of course the regular news. Let's see. Alright, great. It's showing that it's live. Fantastic. Alright. T-4. Great. Yeah, Mike's over there. Our technical engineers are working on the scene. And as always, we always got technical difficulties, all kinds of stuff. You know the whole spiel. Callers, or people tune in, go ahead. So let's see. What else we got? FBI agent. We found 10 times as many Hillary emails as James Comey publicly claimed. Mitch McConnell nixes impeachment. Pelosi, Schiff, and Nadler go apoplectic. Yeah, you know what? It's crazy. I mean, that Schiff guy, man. How are any of these people up in government? I mean, it's crazy. I mean, the Schiff guy is undeniably a satanic. But I mean, just look at the guy. I mean, why does he look like that? There's no reason. There's no reason. Let's see, what else we got? T-3. Alright. Wow, really? Nothing on the Epstein, huh? Oh no, I'm just looking for like updates. I mean, there's always constant updates. So the Turkey thing, the Syria thing. Y'all already know. And the one and only Jim Fetzer is going to be on the show. So we're going to get all the updates from him and we're going to talk about it, figure it out. Trump impeachment. Are we facing a constitutional crisis? The latest on the Trump impeachment query, the whistleblower complaint. Read the contents of the whistleblower's July 26th memo about Trump's Ukraine call. Trump versus the impeachment. The White House impeachment letter was wrong that even James K. Polk knew better in 1846. Yeah, but the thing is that to this day no one has here we're gonna have to shut it down over here. And once we get it going. But no, what people have to realize, I mean, no president has actually been through two presidents were going through the impeachment process, but they were never impeached, and the other two were just resigned before it even happened. So that's the thing. And the two that were going through the process was, I'm pretty sure, John Tyler and Bill Clinton, and that's it. So Excuse me. All right, ladies and gentlemen, let's begin. The time has come. Okay, we're gonna have to. That's all right. And hopefully this is public. Because I always try to put it on private or all kinds of stuff.
The person whom you're trying to reach is currently unavailable. Please leave a message after the beep.
Oh, okay, well, we'll try in a second. So, let's see. Oh, okay, you got to do this. Yeah, so as always, the technical difficulties, we got our chefs working on it and all the good stuff. So let's see what's up. Oh, okay, here we go. We're getting it ready. We're making it happen, folks. This ain't no Tom and Jerry show. We're getting it done.
The person whom you're trying to reach is currently unavailable.
Okay,
Please
we're gonna
leave a
get it.
message after.
Serious business. Lots of, realistically, really crazy stuff going on right now.
Yeah, I'm here.
All right. Jim Fetzer, how you doing?
Good.
What is, we got a lot to talk about. Lots of things have happened since we've last talked.
Yes.
What is up?
Oh, wow, where to begin?
Exactly.
This impeachment thing is pretty much falling apart, I think. It turns out that the second whistleblower was the source of the first whistleblower, and the first whistleblower appears to have been presenting a group, the result of a group effort. It appears, it reads like a legal brief. If you've read it as I have read it, it reads like a legal brief. And it's not a typical whistleblower complaint. It doesn't satisfy the legal requirements, doesn't have the right kind of content. Turns out they actually changed the form in order to allow persons who did not have first-hand knowledge to submit a whistleblower complaint, which is very suspicious, of course, right on its face, because if you stop and think about it, no intelligence agency would want to have whistleblower reports that are based on gossip or rumor or speculation, but that's what they've done by revising this report so you can base it on second or even third-hand knowledge. There's considerable suspicion now that the second whistleblower was actually the source of the first, and that the second whistleblower is actually John Bolton, who had a massive grudge against President Trump when he over Middle East policy. He wanted Trump to bomb, be very aggressive with Iran. He opposed the phone call. There's so many aspects to this thing that are now starting to emerge. But the idea that Nancy Pelosi would call for an impeachment inquiry without having a formal vote tells us the whole thing is a charade, because absent a formal vote, the minority party doesn't have the right to subpoena witnesses and cannot provide a defense for the president. So it's a joke, just a joke, sad to say.
Yeah. Well, what's amazing is that there's many things going on with all of this, but the fact that they're so adamant about the impeachment, where technically no president has ever been impeached through the whole process. We had John Tyler and Bill Clinton go through the impeachment process, but they were never actually convicted, or the impeachment never actually went. It never completed. So technically,
technically, the House bringing the charges is the impeachment, but that requires then a trial in the Senate. And as you observed, Bill Clinton was not convicted in the Senate, and there isn't a prayer that Donald Trump would be convicted in the Senate. It requires 2/3 returns are 67 votes in the Senate when the Republican Party is overwhelmingly favorable to Donald Trump. I mean, it's just not going to happen. Indeed, this is part of the reason why Nancy Pelosi is forestalling a vote in the House. It would put everyone on record with their vote, and there are a dozen or so new Democrats from Trump districts who would almost certainly lose in 2020 if they go on record as favoring the impeachment of Donald Trump.
Yeah, so I mean, I've talked to most of my Democratic friends, and they're all very excited about him getting impeached and all this and all that. But I mean, the thing is that I mean, all of this mass corruption. I mean, you can talk about all these little details, but when as a whole, I mean, all of this is so highly corrupt. I mean, all these guys, most of the government. I mean, there's Adam Schiff, there's Nancy Pelosi, Donald Trump. It's not like he's a good guy either. I mean, I want him to be a good guy, but
let's stop and look at it this way. If Trump were to actually draining the swamp, there wouldn't be this opposition. I mean, look, one of the strongest arguments that this is an act of folly is that we have an election right around the corner, right? Only 13 months away. So what ought to be going on, if there weren't something taking place behind the scenes, would simply be to let this play out and let the public at large, the voters of the country, determine whether he remains in office or not. Al Green, who's a Democrat from Texas, made the observation that if we don't impeach this guy, he will get reelected. And that's the problem for the Democrats. They don't have anywhere to go. Trump is succeeding on too many fronts, and he's got unemployment down, even in Black and Latino communities. He's got the economy up. That's, of course, typically the most important factor. It looks like he might be starting to come through on some of his foreign policy declarations where he was clearly kidnapped by the Zionists, where John Bolton is among them. And this John Bolton had no business having high office in the United States. That he was the national security advisor was, to me, simply dumbfounding. He's a vicious person like Hillary Clinton, even a sadistic person. And that he just has no business being in that office. He's too amenable to being caricaturized because he's so predictable. I mean, he's a bomb kind of guy, very much like John McCain, who was on his bomb, Beach Boys rant regarding Iran. I mean, it was idiotic. John McCain, we know, of course, was instrumental in creating ISIS. He was photographed with the leader of ISIS, and it's a tragic story. But the idea of Trump pulling out, getting us out of Syria, it does create the quandary because Erdogan, the president of Turkey, has ambitions in Syria. He wants to create this buffer zone and put millions of displaced Syrians in the buffer zone. But in the meanwhile, he wants to take out the Kurds. I agree with those who are concerned about the well-being of the Kurds who fought valiantly on behalf of the United States. So I do agree that that's a thorny issue. On the other hand, I like the idea of Trump actually following through on getting us out of the Middle East. If he would only weaken the sanctions, remove the sanctions on Iran, it would dramatically reduce tensions. He should never have pulled out of the Iran deal, which was maybe the only appropriate accomplishment of the Obama administration in foreign policy. Iran, in fact, wasn't pursuing nuclear weapons. Our own intelligence agencies in 2007 had concluded Iran wasn't pursuing nukes, a conclusion they reaffirmed in 2011. Even the Mossad came aboard in 2012 and agreed that Iran was not pursuing nuclear weapons just weeks before Bibi Netanyahu went to the UN and declared precisely the opposite. Netanyahu, of course, is the brains behind 9/11, so it was really his plan to get us involved in the Middle East and take out the modern Arab states that served as a counterbalance to Israel's domination of the entire region, and eventually to confront the Persian Christian nation of Iran, which is so peace-loving. Iran has not launched a war of aggression against another state since 1775. To put that in perspective, the ratification of the Constitution began in 1787. George Washington was elected our first president in 1789. So for longer than the United States has existed as a constitutional republic, Iran has not launched a war of aggression against another state.
Right. Well, so I mean, like you were saying, so the impeachment is a complete joke, right? I mean, they're talking about the whole thing is this phone call with the Ukrainian president. That's the whole thing.
Yeah, it is a complete joke. Let me illustrate it in relation to Chuck Todd going bananas when Ron Johnson spoke up for him. Ron Johnson is a real ordinary guy, very down to earth. He's not overly intelligent, but he's not dumb. He does, however, have a great deal more integrity than Chuck Todd, who appears to me to be one more CIA asset, where they began infiltrating the media back in the 1950s with Operation Mockingbird, such that by 1975, William Colby, then its director, testified to Congress that the agency owned everyone of any significance in the media. The situation has become much worse, where I now have a panel of 100 executives from CNN, every one of whom is a dual U.S. Israeli citizen, 100 executives from NBC, every one of whom is a dual U.S. Israeli citizen, 100 executives from the New York Times, every one of whom is a dual U.S. Israeli citizen. So there has been interference in our elections by a foreign nation, but it wasn't Russia. Indeed, I have a new book out, by the way, on the Russia hoax, which anyone can find. It's entitled Exposing the Russia Hoax, and it's available. It's inexpensive, by Lulu, L-U-L-U. That's on the Russia hoax. You have another of my books in your hand?
Yeah, that's right.
I can't see it. You turned it in the wrong angle. But
yeah, I have the Sandy Hook. I got the Sandy Hook book.
The banned edition. You know, that's a book that Amazon banned. We sold it with that sheriff's badge there until we produced the second edition in 2016. So you have an historic document there.
That's right, and I posted your website on as I always do, and all that. And yeah, so the thing is that I just don't think so. The impeachment, that's not going to go anywhere. That none of this stuff is going anywhere. It seems
let me follow up with a few more words about it. Joe Biden actually boasted at the Council of Foreign Relations about how he threatened to withhold $1 billion if they didn't fire the prosecutor who was looking into the gas company where Hunter had this $50,000 a month, that's $600,000 a year, when he's completely ignorant about the business. Mm-hmm. And he gave him 6 hours, and he went on to Council on Foreign Relations, and we have it on video, and he said, son of a, they actually fired him. You know, he was thrilled. Now, what that means is Joe Biden actually committed the offense of which they are accusing Donald Trump. But while Biden did commit the offense, Donald Trump did not. We even have a sworn statement and affidavit from the prosecutor confirming what actually happened and how he was pressured because Biden threatened to withhold $1 billion in foreign aid if they didn't fire the prosecutor. Now, had Biden been the president, that would have been an impeachable offense. That's not what Donald Trump was doing. He wasn't getting anyone fired. He was asking for assistance in the investigation of a criminal matter involving Joe Biden and his son Hunter, which was in accordance with a treaty with Ukraine for mutual assistance in criminal investigations, which was actually signed by Bill Clinton in 1998. In fact, Barack Obama, in accordance with that same treaty, asked Ukraine to investigate the activities of Paul Manafort, Donald Trump's campaign manager, at one point in time, and that was also in accordance with the treaty. Therefore, that was also appropriate Justice Trump asking for Ukraine to assist and investigate Joe Biden and Hunter with his Burisma gas company. In fact, it turns out, and we just learned today, that Ukraine actually had already decided in February to reinvestigate Burisma. So actually, Trump was asking them to do something that they'd already committed themselves to doing. But there was, without any doubt, nothing impeachable here. We even have a video which Twitter removed from the president's account, if you can believe this, in which you see Joe Biden and Hunter Biden on the golf course with the Ukrainian gas executive contradicting Joe Biden's affirmation that he never discussed business with the gas company exec. We had Chuck Todd going after Ron Johnson, as I observed, and I submitted a letter to the Wisconsin State Journal, which undoubtedly they're not going to publish. But here's the letter, which I sent on the 7th, which was 2 days ago. The media doesn't want the American people to know the background to Trump's conversation with Zelensky because it blows their cover and destroys their narrative. 1. Bill Clinton signed a treaty with Ukraine in 1998 for mutual assistance in criminal matters where Trump was not only permitted but obligated to report crimes committed there. 2. Joe Biden boasted of having a Ukrainian prosecutor fired by threatening to withhold $1 billion in U.S. aid and gave the government 6 hours to get it done. 3. We have him on video explaining that he actually did what Trump is accused of doing, where the Ukrainian prosecutor in a sworn affidavit has confirmed it. 4. Trump immediately released a transcript which anyone can read, and there is no basis for concluding that he had done anything wrong when you know 1 through 3. 5. Voters in Iowa are not being affected by the nonstop 24/7 fabricated reports about this, where they completely appropriately regard Ukraine-Gate as Russia-Gate 2.0. 6. Comparisons with Nixon are inaccurate because Democrats, Republicans, and independents alike supported his impeachment, but Trump supporters are sticking with him. So, too, I think most or a lot of independents. 7. Chuck Todd revealed his bias in attacking Ron Johnson, who's a good man doing his best to sort things out and expose the truth of the matter, while Todd is promoting fake news. Representative Al Green, Democrat of Texas, explained what's up. I'm concerned that if we don't impeach this president, he will get reelected. That's why his party and their media allies are playing us. Would you believe, too, there's a brand new report now that Biden personally was paid $900,000 by Burisma, according to a member of the Ukrainian parliament in a bombshell admission. So, you know, Joe Biden is now coming out, taking off the gloves and saying how Trump needs to be impeached. But, of course, he knows better. He knows Trump is actually dealing honestly with corruption. It's simply that he's the guy who's the big target and very, very corrupt. He appears to have a whole history of corruption, and he's falling in the polls. He's obviously not going to be the nominee of the Democratic Party. Bernie Sanders, because of his heart attack, is not going to be the nominee of the Democratic Party. Elizabeth Warren, in my opinion, is a weakling. She comes across as a spinster, as an old maid school teacher. She's told too many tall tales about her being a native Indian, where Harvard Law School boasted that she was the first woman of color on the law school faculty when that was a fabrication. And moreover, she's told this story about when she was a young woman, I think around the age of 23, a special needs teacher. She became pregnant and that the principal dismissed her because of her pregnancy. She's told this story again and again and again. The only problem is it isn't true.
Right.
That research has shown she was actually offered the reappointment. She just decided she had other things to do, but she's spinning it for her own political benefit. I don't think there's any way she can be the nominee. Kamala Harris is a flyweight. She boffed her way into prominence in California by having an affair with Willie Brown, who got her a couple of plush governmental positions at big bucks during their affair. And she, of course, is the aunt of Jussie Smollett, who perpetrated the fraud in Chicago in order to support her and Cory Booker's anti-lynching bill, which was completely unnecessary. Lynching's a figment of the distant past, so they needed a new event. They claimed these two burly right-wingers assaulted Jussie Smollett as he was coming out of a subway with a sandwich at 2 a.m. in Chicago. But it was the coldest night of the year. They were supposed to have had a bottle of bleach in their hand in the news. Why anyone at 2 a.m. in the morning on the coldest night of the year would be walking around with a bottle of bleach and a noose is beyond me. Turned out the whole thing was a fabrication, that the two who attacked him were Nigerian bodybuilders, one of whom is Jussie Smollett's personal trainer. Right. The other is an extra on the set of Empire, where he was an actor. The weather was so cold that the bleach would have frozen solid. We even have video at a hardware store where they're buying the various accoutrements they used to perpetrate this fraud. Jussie Smollett, bless his heart, paid them with a personal check for $3,500. Now, Jussie has been on the campaign with Kamala, and the woman, Kim Foxx, who was the U.S. attorney who decided not to prosecute, was influenced by the chief of staff of Michelle Obama and has described Kamala Harris as her mentor. She herself is now being the subject of an investigation. It's such a blatant, obvious fraud. You know, when you have this kind of evidence, the idea of dismissing it is beyond belief. Now, who does that leave running? If you take out Kamala for corruption, plus she doesn't really have a brain in her head. She's been scripted by Hollywood writers who have given her lines, but she's obviously superficial. You can see the way she laughs at the jokes. They didn't know these lines she was saying were going to go over. Not when they did, she laughed because they were that funny, you know, forgetting that she delivered them and her action was inappropriate. You got Pete Buttigieg from South Bend, who's a worthy guy, but he's only a mayor, for crying out loud. He's not going to be the Democratic candidate for president of the United States. Mm-hmm. You got some other also rems. You got one serious candidate they've been attempting to marginalize, and that's Tulsi Gabbard. She actually traveled to Syria. She met with the Syrian president, Bashir al-Assad. She's a non-interventionist. She would have a good foreign policy. She's not savvy about the Second Amendment. She still seems to believe some of the myths that are being propagated. She doesn't seem to understand that Americans use guns to defend themselves between 500,000 and 3 million times every single year, saving an estimated 200,000 lives. When you add up all these staged shootings, you get maybe a couple hundred alleged deaths, which are primarily fraudulent. They're all fake. I have books, or I'm editing books on already on Sandy Hook, on Orlando, Dallas, on Parkland. I have a book forthcoming on Las Vegas. I bring together the best experts on different aspects of these cases. It's completely absurd, but nobody died there. If they had died, they'd still amount to a drop in the bucket. You know, that's like 1,000th of those whose lives are saved by having guns. Besides, it turns out that most crimes are committed with handguns. Fewer than 5% are committed with rifles. And the idea of taking away AK-47s or AR-15s from the American people is completely insane. The fact that we have around 150 million armed Americans is the greatest source of national security we have ever enjoyed.
Yeah, thank God for that.
Emperor Hirohito is contemplating invading the United States. He was warned against it by his military advisors, who explained there'd be a sniper behind every blade of grass. So instead, of course, he launched his attack on Pearl Harbor. But you have 150 million armed Americans who can come to the defense of the nation in a national emergency. The idea of disarming them is completely ludicrous. You have a new Senate bill introduced by Dianne Feinstein, who is the Zionist senator from California, though in the past an awful lot of the senators, unfortunately, are Zionists. And she wants to make illegal 205 different weapons, really based upon cosmetic features. She doesn't know anything about weapons. it's all embarrassingly bad. So, you know, the Democratic Party, I think, has set themselves up for a massive landslide. They want to have open borders. They want to give health care to illegal aliens. In New York City, if you even use the phrase illegal alien, you can be fined some fantastic sum of money by the idiots who run that city.
Wow.
If you impose a crime murder distribution map for 2014 over the legislative map, you find these murders are being committed in areas that are dominated by the Democrats, who create free fire zones by taking weapons away from law-abiding citizens, which just leaves opportunities for the bad guys who aren't going to give up their guns under any circumstance to murder people with impunity. It turns out what Trump could do to benefit the country would to approve a national concealed carry, so you do not know who does and doesn't carry a weapon, which is the greatest inhibition for crime in the United States. We know countries where every family is required to have a weapon, such as Switzerland. They have approximately zero crime rate. I mean, it's just stunning. It's so obvious. Look at Chicago.
Mm-hmm.
Chicago has among the most stringent gun laws in the nation, but also the highest gun violence. I mean, if we needed a nice pilot study to show us what works and what doesn't work, there it is. It's all so obvious. So what do the Democrats have to work on, to campaign on? Their border policy is a miserable excuse. Legal aliens don't even support it. Anyone who's actually entered the country legally doesn't support illegal aliens entering the country. There's massive, virtually unanimous opposition to giving free stuff, free medical care to illegal aliens when Americans don't get free medical care. And, their gun control agenda isn't going to wash. It's stupid and self-serving. Dave Hodges of the Common Sense Show has emphasized how during the 20th century, there were 19 democides or slaughters of whole societies, each of which was preceded by gun confiscation. We don't want America to be number 20.
That's right. Haven't you noticed how all these crazy things are happening? So much of these things, all these crazy events are happening, but yet at the same time, nothing happens. Do you get what I'm saying? What's up with that?
Well, you could spell out exactly what you have in mind a little more, but there's been a noticeable absence of these state shootings with impeachment going on. See, now the Democrats, and
right.
This was a program that was initiated by Barack Obama when he nullified the Smith-Munn Act of 1948 by means of the Smith-Munn Modernization Act of 2012, just in time for Sandy Hook, which allowed the intelligence agencies to use the same techniques of propaganda and disinformation within the United States that heretofore have been used only without. In other words, he legitimized these staged fake shootings and all the apparatus that goes along with it. Where it's simply stunning, again, the combination of these phony and then the mainstream media being so Zionist-controlled, occupied territory. It's a wonder the American people ever learn anything that's true. In fact, it was William Casey during his first speech to the staff when Ronald Reagan appointed him director of the CIA. He explained that our disinformation campaign will be a success when everything the American people believe is false. We're getting pretty close to that point.
So when you mentioned the media, most of the media are dual citizenship. I can let that slide. Okay, the fact that the media is dual citizenship, that's one thing. But when you look at the government, I mean, last I checked, 1/3 of our Congress has dual citizenship.
That's interesting. That's a statistic that's certainly worth reporting to the public. I wouldn't be surprised if you were completely correct. The problem is that as Cynthia McKinney revealed, this is now at least 10 years ago, New members of Congress are asked to sign a pledge to put the interests of Israel ahead of the United States, and those who don't sign lose their funding, find themselves confronted with a well-financed alternative candidate the next time around, even discover that there's been a census and their district's been redrawn and they no longer have a seat. Now, Cynthia was able to overcome those obstacles to serve 6 to 8 terms in the House, but even Dennis Kucinich, whom I regarded at the time as the smartest member of Congress, was not. His district was redrawn and he lost his seat. But a good friend of mine, Gary King, with whom I do the new JFK show once a week, and in fact, oddly enough, I'm supposed to be doing it right now. I just lost track of that. Asked me recently how many members that I believe had not signed the pledge of the current Congress. This was the last Congress, as I recall. And I said I didn't know, and he lifted up one finger and one hand. The total who had refused to sign was 1. I hate to say it, but I double booked myself here and have to do this new JFK show. I can come back if we're not doing it tonight, but it's a regular standing obligation, and I got to apologize for not having been more alert.
Hey, no worries, Jim Fetzer. I really appreciate you getting on the show, talking about all this stuff. It's all about, making it all obvious and talking about the facts and making sure everything is correct. So I'll let you get to what you need to do, and we'll talk soon.
I'll be glad to come back. Yeah, thanks so much for featuring me.
Thank you.
Bye now.
All right. Well, that was the one and only Jim Fetzer. I really appreciate that. Thank you very much. Just like he said, I mean, he's a encyclopedia. He knows what he's talking about, and he's got all the facts, and he's got the credentials to prove it. So that's the thing. That's the deal. And so where are we at? We have the impeachment. We have all these things. I mean, what I wanted to get at was we have all these problems. We have all these things going on. We have the impeachment thing. We have, whatever. We have the Epstein thing, whatever. Oh, you could talk about all this stuff. This other thing that's happening in California, this power losing crisis apparently in California. I mean, all these, you can look all this up. I just get tired of looking into all this stuff because it's just on and on and on. It's just crunching and pumping this garbage in and out, in and out, in and out. And it's like, okay, when are we going to get to the fixing, the solutions? When are we going to get to the solutions? So we have the 1/3 dual citizenship in Congress. Shouldn't that be illegal? Look, if you're in the U.S. government, why do you have ties with other countries? I don't care who you are. You should not have other ties with other countries. Does Donald Trump have dual citizenship? I don't know. I don't think so. But at this point, I don't know what to believe because everything is fake news. It's a clown world. Everything doesn't make any sense. And it's all just, everything is fabricated. What do they call them? Deep fakes. Everything is so easily faked. Everything is all, it's crazy. So ladies and gentlemen, thank you very much with the Jim Fetzer announcement and everything and him talking about the real news and the real stuff because that's what it is. And I wish I had more stuff for you. I wish I had more solutions. I'm pretty sure we're all working on it. But this is the fact of the matter. They squash the Epstein thing. They squash all the real important stuff. And they talk about, garbage that does not matter. And it's all side distractions. And it's all, all of that. So we'll just get on with whatever. And apparently they're saying Hillary Clinton is running again. I mean, I don't know. What can I tell you about all this? What can anybody tell you about this? Nobody. I don't think anybody. And then on top of that, they say, see, when Donnie Boy got elected, they were saying that she had 80% chance of her winning. I mean, just think about this. He's talking about how all the media people have dual citizenship. That should indicate to you what is going on and who's trusting who in this whole mess. If the fact of the matter is that the media was saying 80% chance of Hillary Clinton winning, I mean, where is this all leading to? Where is this all going? And that is, what's the word? I mean, that's the cookie in the cookie jar, or the nut in the table. I mean, this is it's blasphemy, and it's this whole thing is a catastrophe. But enough. And don't even get me started on all the industrial complex, military, pharmaceutical, blah blah blah. It says that CDC admits 98 million Americans were given cancer virus via the polio shot. I mean, it just goes on and on, ladies and gents. What can I tell you? I mean, it just goes on and on. All the little stuff. And it's not little stuff, because it's billions of dollars, trillions of dollars missing in the Pentagon. Where is everything going? Why are we so broke? Where is all this stuff going? Nobody knows nothing. And I'm not trying to let Donny Boy off the hook either. He said he was going to abolish the Fed. He said he was going to do this, he was going to do that. He's going to lock her up. They are all on the same team. I believe. I'm very afraid to believe that is the case. I mean, what else is there? Callers call in. I don't know what else to say. We're all trying here, man. We're all trying to do our stuff here. So this is the deal. And there's always more stuff. So I guess that's about it for now. Next week, next Tuesday, is a Democratic debate. That should be entertaining and funny, and we'll see what the deal is with all that. And I'm trying to think off the top of my head if there's anything else. I mean, it's about it that we can all think of. So everybody keep in touch. Be a patriot. Do what you got to do. We can only cover so much. It's a lot of stuff out there. So anyway, ladies and gentlemen, thank you very much. I believe Geezy Truth News is out. Thank you.